So here's what's on my mind this week. It's week 3 of our Back to Church series. 2 weeks ago, I talked about why do you go to church? Last week, I talked about how to improve our pastor's preaching. If you missed that video and the practical action steps that go with it, do yourself a favor and check it out. But today I want to talk about worship. Now, I know we could do a 10-part series on worship alone and cover topics like worship is way more than music, or worship God anywhere and everywhere, or everyone worships something. But today I want to dial specifically into that segment of time that typically includes worship music in our Sunday morning worship services. I want to confess something that I'm really quite embarrassed about in hopes that it helps us draw closer to Jesus, specifically during that musical portion of our church worship services. So I'll get right to it, the embarrassing part. It was a Sunday morning not terribly long ago. Our church serves yummy and free coffee, so I got my cup of French vanilla and headed to the worship center and sat the cup down on the floor under the chair in front of me. Now, we're not an incredibly expressive church, but quite a few will raise their hands in worship, and I like to raise mine most of the time without holding on to the coffee. We have a really talented and dedicated worship band, and they were rocking out the latest Hillsong, Crowder, Bethel Church tunes, whatever, on that day. At least I think so. And that's where the confession comes in. The band usually does 3 or 4 songs before the offering and sermon. I arrived in the middle of the first song because I was chatting with some friends out in the lobby about some restaurant that we like. Now, for some reason, my husband and I have been sitting in the back of the church, which is perfect for checking out what everyone is wearing as they walk in. Outfits were particularly interesting on that day. But in the middle of the clothing and hairstyle inspections, I tell myself, okay, focus, Karen, you're supposed to be worshiping. So I close my eyes to help myself focus on Jesus for a moment, and as I try to wholeheartedly sing along with everyone, the lyrics say that I fall down to my knees with a hammer in my hand. But I don't have a hammer in my hand, and I don't have one in my purse either, so should I sing it if it's not true? I mean, I don't want to lie in church. So now I'm wondering if we have a hammer in our toolbox at home, which reminds me we really need to clean our garage with all the tools lying around in it. And then the guitarist hit a wrong note on his solo, which make me think of noises that shouldn't happen, which makes me wonder if I forgot to mute my phone. So as I pull it out to check it, another song starts and I'm like, no, my coffee's getting cold. And bam. That's when God's loving conviction knocked me down like it knocked Saul down on the road to Damascus. And I at least fall down to my seat and think, can we loop back to that song, that hammer song that says that you love me even when I don't deserve it? Does anyone besides me sometimes have a hard time focusing on God? I mean, really focusing on who Jesus is during the worship time on Sundays? I have no excuse. We have an amazing band, and our leadership is intentional about eliminating distractions or obstacles to encountering Jesus. Now, I'm sure that Satan's trying to do all he can to distract God's kids from worshiping God, but I know I'm responsible for bringing a sacrifice of praise and saying, Lord, here I am. Thank you for your mercy. I present myself as a living sacrifice. I went home that Sunday, and more Sundays after that, I wondered, what was it really like for Isaiah when he encountered God and cried, woe to me, I am ruined? Or what would it have been like to have been Peter, and Jesus spoke to the crowds from your boat, and now he tells you to cast your nets out, and now they're full and overflowing with fish? Would you respond like Peter responded? Go away from me, Lord, I'm a sinful man. Or what was it like for Job when God spends several chapters asking him the were you there at creation like I was questions and the can you do this like I can questions? And Job finally gets it and he says, I'm unworthy. I put my hand over my mouth. What kind of relationship did David have with God that would make him not care at all about how he looked when he danced like crazy in the presence of God? And what would it have been like to see Jesus on the cross and hear him cry out, forgive them, Father, they don't know what they're doing. Friends, I know that we can and should worship God anywhere and everywhere, And I know that worship involves so much more than music. But I also know that worship can and does involve music. And I believe amazing and transformational things can happen in that 5 to 20, 40 minutes, however long your church's worship service is. And I'm sad that we're sometimes missing out. Here's one thought I want to plant in your head and heart, and I'll leave some practical action steps on my website. It's this: God is there. We know Psalm 139 that says, where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you're there. If I make my bed in the depths, you're there. God is everywhere. So God is there. Could it be that he's waiting for you to show up? And I don't mean just physically. I mean, I was physically there that Sunday, but my mind and my heart were miles away. Just this week, my husband and I had a busier week than ever. And there was one night where he was talking to me, and a couple minutes into it, I had to stop him and apologize and say, I'm so sorry, can you tell me that again? Because I didn't hear a word you just said. You see, my mind, it was on the status of my to-do list or something else a million miles away. And I know we do that with God, sometimes Sunday after Sunday. And that's when church can become so routine and non-transformational. I think of King David in 2 Samuel chapter 24 when he says, I will not give offerings to the Lord my God that have cost me nothing. And I think of what God says to Jeremiah. And he says, then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. I know I've attended church services that cost me nothing. And I know I've attended church services that I haven't found God because I haven't even sought him with half of my heart. But what if we wholeheartedly came to seek him and to pour out our praise on him? What if we continually proclaimed our allegiance to his name? What if we offered him that actually cost us something and did it while helping others in need? What if he listened to us and responded to us in mind-blowing ways? Oh, friends, let's worship our God during the week in our daily lives, of course, but let's just see how pleased our Heavenly Dad might be as we join the body of Christ this Sunday to worship our God. Hey, please check out some practical ideas in this post on my website to help you worship with your whole heart. There I answer some questions like, what if I don't really like singing? What if I don't like the worship leader's song selection? How can I minimize the distractions? Go check it out and let's give God our all this Sunday and the next Sunday and the next Sunday. Thanks, friends.